Before there was time, before there were names for the planets, there was only chaos. Imagine our Earth, not as the tranquil blue marble of today, but as a raging sphere of magma. The final, violent collisions that marked the dawn of the solar system.
For millions of years, this was the norm.
But in the darkness, a ghost was approaching.
Another world, born in the same celestial nursery.
Our own was on a collision course with destiny.
A rogue planet the size of Mars, its orbit a fatal mirror of our own, slowly decaying, until the two worlds
were drawn into a final, gravitational embrace.
There was no sound as it struck, only a silent, planet-shattering concussion.
Theia didn't just hit the Earth, it plunged into it, a cosmic bullet tearing through the molten mantle. Trillions of tons of vaporized rock from both worlds erupted into this space, a superheated plume that blasted past the limits of our atmosphere. The Earth itself would have seemed to scream, its very crust buckling as a wave. Columns of pure kinetic energy ripped across its surface, instantly erasing any feature that had existed before.
Its axis, setting the stage for the seasons we know today.
In the immediate aftermath, our wounded planet wore a new crown.
A shimmering.
It was a tombstone and a cradle, all at once.
Within this swirling halo of dust and magma, gravity
Began its patient work, pulling the chaos into clumps.
But this act of creation was not clean. It was messy, imperfect.
and in that primordial, prowling realm.
From violence, a secret was forged.
A secret that would... A secret that would eat.
Be baked into the very
Core of the companion that would rise from the ashes.
A secret that would remain.
hidden for 4.5 billion years.
Waiting for us on the far side of the moon.
Of course, here is only part 2 of the script.
On the scarred Earth, oceans formed, life sparked, and humanity, a species born. Billions of years after the initial crime, finally looked up and began to wonder. For millennia, the moon was a constant, a comforting lantern in the night sky. We mapped its face, named its seas of tranquil basalt, and told stories about the man who lived there.
We thought we knew it. We were wrong. The year is 1959.
The Cold War is at its iciest, and the heavens have become the new battlefield.
While America was still reeling from Sputnik, the Soviet Union launched its next audacious gambit.
A probe named Lunar 3, designed to do what no human eye had ever done.
It was tasked with rounding the moon and photographing its hidden face.
Imagine the tension in a secret Soviet control room. A room filled with cigarette smoke, the hum of primitive computers, and the weight of history.
The scientists, the detectives in our story, had arrived.
At the crime scene 4.5 billion years too late.
Lunar 3 was their first remote-controlled forensic tool.
As the probe made its silent passage into the
unknown, it began snapping a series of grainy, low-resolution photographs.
The film was developed on board through a crude, automated process, and the
Images were then scanned and transmitted back to Earth as faint radio signals.
The first photo that resolved on the screen was
a blurry, washed-out image that nonetheless sent a shockwave through the scientific community.
In their place was a brutal, alien landscape. It was a pale, battered, and utterly ravaged world.
This wasn't just a different side of the moon, it felt like a different moon entirely.
It was a face that had seen a different, more violent history.
The witness, it turned out, had a split personality.
And with that single, ghostly image, the case was blown wide open. The moon wasn't the simple companion we thought it was.
It was a witness hiding a deep, physical scar.
And humanity's first question was a simple one. Why?
The question of why hung over science for a decade.
A single, grainy photograph had turned our closest celestial neighbor into the solar system's greatest enigma.
Answering it would require more than just pictures. The detectives needed to get their hands dirty.
They needed to visit the scene of the crime and collect physical evidence.
And so began the Apollo program.
When Neil Armstrong took his giant leap for mankind, he was
also taking the first step in a forensic investigation of cosmic proportions.
The astronauts were tasked with a crucial mission: bring back the evidence.
Over 6 missions, they collected 382 kilograms of lunar rocks, soils, and
core samples, pristine evidence that had sat undisturbed for billions of years.
Back in laboratories on Earth, these rocks began to talk.
And they revealed a clue that no one expected.
Scientists discovered a bizarre geochemical signature in the samples from the near side.
It was a unique cocktail of elements. Potassium, rare.
Earth elements, and phosphorus, along with radioactive elements, like thorium.
They named this strange terrain KREEP. Think of it as the moon's unique DNA.
But here was the baffling part. This chemical fingerprint
was everywhere on the near side, the side facing Earth.
Yet when scientists analyzed lunar meteorites, believed to have been blasted from the far side, the signature was almost completely absent.
It was as if a massive chemical spill had occurred. But it had somehow contaminated only 1/2 of the entire world.
The mystery deepened.
The moon wasn't just visually asymmetrical, it was chemically unbalanced. Decades passed.
The chemical fingerprints remained an unsolved puzzle.
To get to the bottom of it, we needed to look
deeper, past the surface clues, and into the victim's very bones.
We needed a CAT scan of the moon. In 2011, NASA provided one.
Lunar orbit, chasing each other in a precise formation.
By measuring the minute gravitational tugs that altered the distance between
them, scientists could map the moon's interior with stunning accuracy.
They were peering beneath the skin for the first time.
The results that came back were the final, damning piece of the forensic file.
The far side's crust wasn't just a bit thicker, it was
a colossal shield of rock, on average 20 kilometers thicker than the near side. The moon was fundamentally lopsided. The detectives now had the complete file, a witness with 2 faces, strange chemical fingerprints on one side, and massive internal injuries on the other.
The evidence was irrefutable.
Now came the hard part. Figuring out what kind of monster could have possibly done this.
Of course. This is the central part of our investigation.
With a complete forensic file, the detectives of planetary science could finally build their case.
The evidence was clear, but the culprit remained unknown.
What could possibly account for all three anomalies?
Two faces, the chemical fingerprints, and the deep internal trauma? In the decades that followed, three prime suspects emerged from the scientific community.
Three competing theories, each vying to be the
one that would finally close this 4.5 billion-year-old cold case.
This was the lineup. First up was a suspect born from the relationship between the Earth and Moon itself, the distant inferno theory.
The idea is elegant in its simplicity.
Shortly after the Moon's formation, it was much, much closer to our planet.
And Earth was still a glowing, molten ball of magma, a colossal heat lamp in the sky.
This theory suggests that the relentless radiant heat from Earth cooked the Moon's
near side, keeping it liquid for millions of years longer than the far side. Shielded from the inferno, the far side cooled. Rapidly, its crust crystallizing and growing thick and strong. The near side, remaining a magma ocean for longer, allowed the heavy, radioactive creep elements to bubble up and concentrate there, like a strange chemical slick.
It's a neat theory that seems to explain the thick crust and the chemical anomaly.
But it has a problem.
For the math to work, the Moon would
have had to be dangerously close to Earth. So
close that it would risk being shredded by tidal
forces, its pieces raining back down on our planet.
The alibi was plausible, but shaky.
The second suspect was a far more violent actor, the second attacker theory.
This hypothesis suggests the Moon's asymmetry wasn't a
birth defect, but the result of a later, brutal assault.
Long after the Moon had formed and solidified, another massive object, perhaps a dwarf planet or a colossal asteroid, came screaming out of the darkness and slammed into it.
But instead of hitting the far side, this object struck the near side.
The impact, according to the theory, was so immense that it didn't just leave a crater. It blasted a wave of crust and mantle entirely over the horizon.
This ejected material would have then rained down on the
far side, plastering it with a thick new layer of debris.
The sheer energy of the impact would have
also remelted the near side, explaining the Chang'e concentration.
It's a compellingly violent story, but it's missing one crucial piece of evidence: the murder weapon.
An impact of that magnitude should have left behind the
largest, most obvious impact basin in the entire solar system. And while the moon is covered in craters, none seem to
match the size, age, and location needed to be the smoking gun.
That left the detectives with one final suspect. A theory so audacious, so contrary to everything we
thought we knew, that it sounded like science fiction.
But it was also the one that seemed to fit every piece of evidence perfectly.
This was the theory of the twin accomplice. To understand it, we must return to the
scene of the original crime, that chaotic, swirling ring of debris left by Thetia's impact.
The theory proposes that gravity didn't just form one moon from that ring.
It formed two.
Our moon, the large one we see today, and a smaller companion, a little.
Brother about the size of one of its larger asteroids, born from the same cataclysm.
For tens of millions of years, these two moons shared.
The sky above Earth, locked in a slow, unstable dance.
But they were doomed. Their orbits were too similar, their gravitational attraction a ticking clock.
And eventually, they collided. But this was no high-speed, explosive impact.
Because they were orbiting the same planet, their relative speed was
quite slow, a cosmic fender bender, at just 2.5 kilometers per second.
It wasn't an explosion.
It was a splat. The smaller moon, too slow to create a crater, simply pancaked against
the far side of our moon, merging with it in a slow-motion collision that lasted for hours.
Its body spread out, becoming a thick, mountainous.
And suddenly, all the clues snapped into place. The thick, rugged far side crust.
That is the body of the second moon. The strange creep chemicals concentrated on the near side? The force of the splat was just enough to shove the still molten magma ocean of the
primary moon, already rich with those elements, over to one side, like squeezing a water balloon.
This theory didn't just explain one clue, it explained all of them.
The violent secret of the moon wasn't an attack it endured. It was a sibling it consumed. The theory of a second, consumed moon is the leading suspect in this cosmic cold case.
It's a spectacular story that fits the evidence with chilling precision.
To close the case, the detectives need one final, irrefutable piece of proof.
They need to find the body.
If the splat theory is true, then deep beneath the rugged
Highlands of the lunar far side, there should still be a seam.
A seismic boundary where the crust of our original moon ends.
Finding that boundary would be the smoking gun.
Final verdict, written in stone and buried 30 kilometers deep.
And today, right now, a new space race is underway to find it.
This is the race for the verdict.
It's an international effort, a high-stakes hunt for the truth, and humanity is deploying its most advanced forensic tools.
China has taken a bold lead, achieving what was once thought impossible.
Their Chang'e 4 mission performed the first ever soft landing on the lunar far side, putting
a rover directly onto the scene of the crime for the first time in history.
The data it sent back was tantalizing.
But their follow-up missions are the real game changers.
Chang'e 6 is designed to do what has never been done: collect
rock and soil from the far side and return it to Earth.
Imagine that.
A sample of the murder victim, the body of our second moon. Could you
soon be sitting in a laboratory?
Up its final secrets.
Meanwhile, NASA is preparing to send the human detectives back to the scene.
The Artemis program isn't just about planting flags and leaving footprints. It's about finishing the investigation that Apollo started.
The plan is to land astronauts near the lunar South Pole, but the ultimate goal is to
establish a permanent human presence, enabling complex geological fieldwork all over the moon, including the far side.
An Artemis astronaut, a trained geologist, could one day place
An array of ultra-sensitive seismometers directly onto the far side crust.
These instruments would listen for moonquakes, for the echoes of distant
meteorite impacts, and use those vibrations to map the deep interior.
The seismic boundary that proves our moon is actually 2.
We are living in the final act of this incredible detective story.
The secret that
Within the next decade, a sample returned by a Chinese probe or a seismic reading
from a NASA instrument could be the piece of evidence that closes the case forever.
The violent truth of our moon's past. The story of Theia. The birth of twins.
And the slow-motion collision that shaped our worlds.
Her companion is on the brink of being revealed.
The verdict is coming.
And when it does, it won't just rewrite the history of the moon. It will.
Tell us more about the violent, chaotic, and beautiful process that builds worlds throughout our universe.
Of course. We now move to the heart of the story's message.
The story of our moon, a celestial body we have gazed upon for all of human history, offers us a profound and deeply personal lesson.
We see it as a symbol of constancy.
A serene and unchanging companion in the night sky. Yet, beneath that familiar face lies a history of unimaginable violence, a chaotic birth.
The ghost of a long-lost twin.
It teaches us that even the most steadfast and seemingly simple things in our universe are the products of a complex and often turbulent past.
This is true not just of planets, but of people.
Each of us presents a familiar near side to the world, a face that we allow to be seen.
But we also have a far side, a personal history filled with our own cosmic collisions.
Events that have scarred us, shaped us, and fused us into the unique individuals we are today. This story reminds us that these hidden histories are not flaws
to be concealed, but the very source of our depth and character. The moon's lopsided nature is what makes it a captivating,
scientific mystery, and our own.
Asymmetries are what make us human.
It encourages us to look with a little more curiosity and a lot more empathy. To remember
that the quiet person next to us holds a history as deep and complex as the cosmos itself.
It is a call to be gentle.
Detectives in our own lives, seeking to end.
Understand the hidden stories that shape the
people we love and the world we inhabit. So, we invite you to reflect on this.
What hidden histories in your own life or in the
world around you have shaped the reality you see today?
Share your thoughts in the comments below. It's through sharing these stories that we truly connect. We wish you a week of thoughtful discovery and clear skies.